So maybe that's a little bit of a wrinkle in the overall situation, but the bigger fish to fry was the entire system. And by and large, let me say that at least the portion of the TARP program that was directed at banks, not necessarily AIG or not necessarily the auto companies, but the area directed at banks has been very successful. Much of that money has already been paid back with interest and returns on warrants. So it did stabilize the banking system, and the Treasury has gotten a nice return on it.
I would remind you that the TARP money originally was developed or made available for the market in troubled mortgage-related securities.
Distressed assets, yeah.
The question was, what could the Treasury have done? Actually, I came out with a plan that the Treasury should have had a reverse mortgage and begun to buy in this market. The Treasury didn't do that. What the Treasury did was to call 9 bankers into a room and essentially engage in a fascistic act. And I use that word deliberately.
Put a gun to
coerced individuals, bankers who did not want to take Treasury money, to take the money. Now, the money was a good thing for some banks. That's not the issue. But this gets back to the previous question. What can the authorities do? When push comes to shove and the system is in danger, there's never any doubt that one needs to stabilize the system. And so the question we should be asking is, should we take measures in advance of the crisis to begin to dampen the speculative fervor? Because when the bubble breaks, a very large number of financial institutions will go under. That's what we learned from financial history.
Yes.
I want to ask about stimulus money. The federal government provided a lot of money that some say did a lot of good and has produced some reemployment. Now there seems to be a mood in the country, no bigger deficits, let's not do this again, or if we do it, let's not make it as big as we did before. First part of my question is, was it successful? What was done? And second is, what would happen if we are more bashful in the near term?
Well, let me first address that and say I do believe that the stimulus plan was successful in saving a great many jobs, and by doing so lessened the ultimate depth of the recession and has shortened the amount of time that we're in recession. Now, after having said that, I personally believe the stimulus plan was way too large and directed in areas that were not to the greatest benefit of our economy. I would have liked to have seen more hard infrastructure investments. I would have liked to have seen more permanent cuts in taxes. And so right now, we're just about halfway through the $787 billion stimulus package. The whole point of the stimulus package was to, and any stimulus, federal fiscal stimulus, is to kickstart the economy. Well, the recovery's been kickstarted. I would be one on the side favoring, well, the recovery's kickstarted. There's $400 billion left in the pot. Well, let's not spend that and not increase the deficit that much more. So it's done what it's intended to do now, and we should stop it now.
I'm inclined to be less sanguine about the benefits of the stimulus program and ancillary programs like scrappage incentives. Number one, if they were intended to take remediation against an economy that was hurt in the fourth quarter, starting in the fourth quarter of 2008, in particular dysfunction, clearly came on too late. What Ken is talking about is at this stage, 1 year into the recovery, you're halfway through the expenditures. So even if you were a true believer You say, I mean, that was the response of the cavalry, a day late and, well, not exactly $1 short. About $800 billion to excess, perhaps. So that's issue number one. Issue number two, I think it's fair to say, who was incentivized and who came away a winner as a result of the expenditures that we have seen so far and prospectively in the future. If you were among the select few to draw the correct lottery ticket, if you were a construction worker, if you were in one of the businesses that felt this manna flowing from Washington, there you were. If you happened to have a clunker and you needed cash, you came away a winner also. In other words, there was sort of a lotto that was run. And if you happen to have a winning lotto ticket because you were a first-time home buyer, because you needed an appliance at the right time and under the right circumstances, well, you came away a beneficiary. Other than that, my suspicion is the bill is in the mail.
Let's imagine the following scenario, but let me prelude my remark by sort of saying both Ken and Jim have talked about the brilliance of the recovery of the last year, and it has been remarkable. Now let's imagine that we had not had the stimulus program. Do you think we would have had the same upbeat remarks from these people? If so, I'll be happy to regrade their papers. Essentially, it was the prospect of the stimulus money and the prospect of further stimulus money, which has given the economy upward momentum, a kick, when everything else, when a year or so ago, we were looking over into a deep abyss. I would have wished that I had received a phone call from the president sort of saying, will you get together with Ken, Mayland, and Jim to decide how the stimulus money should be allocated. That would have been first class, as opposed to maybe the second class. But the money is out there, and the people who had jobs because of that, because of the increase in the spending, are spending 98% of their income, 96% of their income, and that's got the spending cycle going. So it's in the traditional mode, it's the pump. The pump has been primed, and now the delicate issue is, when should we take the water away from the prime pump?
I think I'll take my chances in Professor Upton's class.
What about the other 400?
He was known as an easy grader.
What about the other 400?
I am very pleased with how the private economy has reduced its cost and efficiency, but I don't see any improvement in the government portion of it, which I think is probably the largest portion of our economy these days, in its either efficiency or costs, wage costs, or performance. And I feel that is a drag on the rest of the ability of the country to produce. It's like a manufacturing company with a lot of good departments and then one that's like the shipping department that's slow in doing its job.
I have a lot of sympathy with that, those remarks.
I think this is just going to be one of the very hot issues, and it's the income and wages of those in the public sector relative to the incomes and wages of those in the private sector. How has that relationship changed over the last 30 or 40 years? And to what extent do we find that public sector workers have an improvement in tenure relationships, et cetera, et cetera? So this is a debate which is going to have to occur at the state level as well as at the national level.
I live in Cuyahoga County, and I'm married to a government employee for the Federal Defense Department. Enough said.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we've been listening to a panel discussion, the economic climate today and what it means for the country and the world in the next decade, featuring Robert Aliber, Ken Mayland, and Jim Meil, and moderated by Charles Upton. Thank you, panel. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This program is now adjourned.